Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi.
So, hello, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you everyone for joining us in this webinar session. So, here we are. We'll be starting our webinar session now. So, good evening, everyone. I am here, Apurvi Srivastava, along with my co-moderator, Ms. Fatima Rifa. So, we welcome you all in this first episode of our webinar series, that is Ocular Learning of Consumer Laws. So, as you guys might be knowing that, a customer is what? A customer is nobody but a person who is actually willing to give his hard-earned money and expects simple things in return. That is a good quality product and proper services from the manufacturers and the service providers. But this is a give and take relationship. But actually the question is this give and take relationship actually how we picture it? Is this so smooth and transparent? So this reality will be portraying it now through a video, and then forward we'll go with our discussion.
Everybody just wants the nicest, newest thing for the cheapest price possible.
It's incredible what these people would do to make easy money.
What is the true price of the products you buy?
Every
You have to share it in the screen.
by a piece of furniture falling over on you.
Counterfeits have tested positive for known carcinogens, horse urine, super glue. I was tugging at my lips, trying to pull them apart, and it hurt.
Plastic production has exploded over the last several decades.
One garbage truck of plastic is dumped into the oceans every minute.
They're saying you, the consumer, have a responsibility to solve this problem, not we, the industry.
We have seen a rise in youth use of e-cigarettes that is unprecedented in our history.
We are absolutely against any use of our product by minors.
Like, I had nobody knew that, like, we'd actually get addicted to it.
Everybody just wants the nicest, newest thing for the cheapest price. Everybody just wants the nicest, newest thing for the cheapest price. Everybody just wants the
It's
nicest, newest
incredible
thing for
what
the
these
cheapest
people
price
would do
possible.
to make. It's incredible what these easy
Ma'am,
money.
there's some. What is the true
Easy
price? What is the true price? Hello?
I think the video is not playing. Only some
There's some technical
voice is
glitch happening, ma'am.
Okay. Let me just check.
Everybody just wants the nicest, just wants the nicest, newest thing for the cheapest price
It's
possible.
incredible what these. It's incredible what these people would do to make easy
What is the
money.
true price? What is the true price of the products you buy?
Every 17 minutes, someone is injured by a piece of furniture falling over on them.
Counterfeits have tested positive for known carcinogens, horse urine, super glue.
I was tugging at my lips, trying to pull them apart, and it hurt.
Plastic production has exploded over the last several decades.
One garbage truck of plastic is dumped into the oceans every minute.
They're saying you, the consumer, have a responsibility to solve this problem, not we, the industry.
We have seen a rise in youth use of e-cigarettes that is unprecedented in our history.
We are absolutely against any use of our product by minors.
Like, I had nobody knew that, like, we'd actually get addicted to it.
In no way, shape, or form should the burden be on the consumer.
We need to connect the dots and see that this is a global crisis.
There is a price tag attached to the low price.
We've made changes before, even when the odds are stacked against us.
Definitely gonna wash my hands after I touch this thing.
Sorry everyone for the technical glitches that happened in the beginning, but that was really an eye-opening video, isn't it? But this is just a trailer of a documentary. The truth of consumer exploitation is far more bitter than what all of us think. In this pandemic situation, where all of us are trying our best to save lives and save the country, there are still a lot of manufacturers who are trying to exploit us, the innocent consumers. Now, let's take a look at one more video.
A scramble for facial protection. Businesses tapping into people's anxieties amid coronavirus pandemic. Selling spurious products. India today has unearthed factories making substandard masks. These cheap masks could well be carrying the disease right into their users. In neighboring Noida, this dilapidated unit is also a factory of fake surgical masks. No glove, no sterilization, no hygiene. That's how the tailors sew the medical supplies here. The factory owner HS Bisht showed the samples to our reporters posing as customers.
तो आपको अगर हम ऑर्डर देते हैं तो कब तक मिल जाएगा? अभी ले लो। अभी एक बार पीस अभी मिल जाएगा, रेडी है हमारे पास। रेडी है। अभी तो एडवांस बुकिंग है सब। अच्छा। सब एडवांस। माल 24 घंटे तक चलाना है। तो इसको मतलब स्टेरलाइज वगैरह नहीं होता है, ऐसे ही मशीन से निकलता है और आप पैक करके दे देते हैं कार्टन में। हाँ, ये ऐसे निकलता है, ऐसे कार्टन में पैक होता है उसके बाद और जब तो स्टेरलाइज करके काम करते हैं। स्टेरलाइज वगैरह नहीं होता है, मतलब प्रॉपर जो एक मशीन आता है इसका उसका नहीं स्टेरलाइज तो ऐसे कोई जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ता है ना। नहीं।
Workers in this Ghaziabad unit are huddled together while making surgical masks. Their boss, Rahul Agarwal, confessed that he is clueless about coronavirus precautions.
So, if I guess you have seen this video. So as you saw this video, we all can realize that consumers are actually victims of all these exploitive practices. And, with the expansion of the market and digital platform and evolution, these form of exploitations have actually evolved. So what we feel is that, is this the only way out? Are the consumers are being exploited every time? Now, what do you think, Fatima? What is your take on it?
No, ma'am, that's not the case. Actually, we are in the era of consumerism, and protection of consumers is a top-notch priority. We have our Consumer Protection Act, which is enacted in the year 1986, whose basic objective is to prevent practices that has adverse effects on competition, and its main aim is also to protect us, the consumers. We have consumer forums also at state level, national level, and even also at the district level. Even to check the digital platforms, especially the e-commerce, recently our act has undergone an amendment in the year 2019. But is there still any kind of loophole in the provisions, and how far these provisions are implemented? And to understand the law better, the consumer law better, we have amidst us our two panelists. Firstly, I would like to welcome Mr. Bejon Misra, who is an international consumer policy expert and represents several consumer organizations. He was a volunteer in the consumer movement in India since 1983 and has played an important role in drafting the Consumer Protection Act 1986, the Food Safety Act 2006. Sir has more than 18 years experience as an international expert on consumer focus and have been engaged as a short-term consultant with UNICEF, WHO, World Bank, etc. Sir is also a signatory of the Consumer Coordination Council, and he has initiated the famous consumer movement, Jago Grahak Jago. Welcome you to the webinar, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to welcome our second, yes, sir. Now, I would like to welcome our second panelist, Dr. Anish Pillai, who is an assistant professor in School of Legal Studies at Cochin University, Kerala. He has worked as a faculty of law in Hidayatullah National University and is serving as a visiting professor at the Department of Law in Dhaka International University. He has published several articles in prestigious research journals on topics like consumer activism, competition and consumer protection. He has also authored 3 books related to surrogacy, competition law, and cyber law. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's actually our honor to have you both amidst us. But before we begin our session, I would just like to give certain instructions to our participants. So during the webinar session, you'll get a feedback form in the chat box. So kindly fill that feedback form because that would be computed as your attendance for this session. The questions can be asked by the participants in the chat box itself, and we'll be taking those questions toward the end of our session. So now, may I request Mr. Bejon Misra to begin his session. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And I'd like to say namaskar to all the people who are listening to us and participating in this webinar. I want to congratulate the university and the faculty and the students for organizing this. Friends, why did the Consumer Protection Act 1986 come into existence? You see, earlier, when I was in my early teens, we never knew what is a consumer. There was never a consumer. It was all big monopolies. There was no competition. There was no choice. I had to wait for 15 years to get a two-wheeler scooter. I had to wait for 15 years to get a telephone connection. So that was the era I'm talking about, you know, early 90s, 70s, and 80s. Then we realized that we have 23 laws in our country protecting the consumer, like the Food Adulteration Act, for example, the Monopolistic and Trade Practices Act, the Weights and Measures Act, the Packaging and Commodities Act. These were all made by the British Raj, pre-independence, and they continued to exist till, you know, the early 80s, when I joined this movement in 1983 out of a city called Jamshedpur. What did I realize? That I, as a consumer, I have no say in terms of the money which I use to purchase a product. There was nothing called a consumer by law. So we wanted a consumer by law, a legal right, a face which has legal rights. And we derived it out of our constitution. You see, the Indian constitution is one of the longest constitution ever made by any country. It has got very simple fundamental rights as a citizen. And every citizen is equal in our country. We are a secular country. It's all given in the constitution that there cannot be any discrimination. So we went before the government, persuaded the government, and brought about this Consumer Protection Act 1986. We had a very dynamic prime minister at that point of time who just gave instructions to his council of ministers and the bureaucrats that I want a law for consumer protection within months, and we got it on 24th of December 1986. What did it entail? It entailed that now the consumer had 6 consumer rights, like right to information, right to safety, right to redressal, right to consumer education. These all came as a right. And then along with the rights, there was a great element of awareness building and redressal mechanism. So we wanted that we don't want to send anybody to jail. We don't want to put any penalty. I, as a consumer, if I'm not happy and I've paid a sum of money, I should get my money back. Simple. And if it has caused any damage due to being substandard or not of quality, then I must be compensated for the damage which has been caused. That's all the simple way we wanted it. And that is why what we said was a very quasi-judiciary system, where in every district of the country, there will be a district consumer redressal forum. Every state will have a state consumer redressal commission. And then there will be a national commission in Delhi. And of course, the Supreme Court. So the whole legal system was derived out of the rights of the consumers and prompt redressal. And there was a timeline given in the law that it has to be redressed within 45 days. But unfortunately, in this journey from 1986 to now, we did 3 amendments of the law. But finally, we settled down with this new Modi government with a new law. The present Prime Minister wanted a new law which will be completely revolutionizing the consumer, because today the consumer is someone who is very, very different person. Today's consumer asks questions. Why this? Why not this? Today's youth, they are all technology savvy. So the law never looked into in terms of internet sale, in terms of e-commerce. It did not look into even filing of complaints online. So the new law, the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, it's not an amendment, mind you. I want to correct some of you. It's a completely new law which has come into existence in 2019. And now we are busy trying to frame the rules, which is also very important, because the rules actually drive the law. And the new law talks about lot of element of e-commerce. It is talking a lot about how to penalize misleading advertisements. There was a huge debate with the celebrities not being taken to the court when they are giving misleading endorsements. So we brought in this new law that even the celebrity should be made liable if they endorse a product by endorsing something which is not true, which is not truthful, which is misleading, because the innocent consumers get attracted by these celebrities. We wanted to bring in a layer of also, mediation. Why rush to the court for everything? Why not make the consumer, why not make the industry liable to come to a talking table? Today, nobody wants to talk to the consumer because the laws in our country are not only cumbersome, they're long drawn, they're very expensive. You all know, you all in the legal system, you know that when you graduate, after a lot of struggle, you would definitely expect good fees to be paid to you. And when you want good fees, then the poor consumer who is already a victim, where will he get that money from? So what happens? The poor consumer doesn't have a proper legal redressal system because it is unequal. He is not able to fight against the big, legal battles which are happening in the courtrooms, and the poor consumer. So what we have been doing as consumer organizations is to encourage more public interest litigations, class action litigations, where we want that out of one judgment from the court, especially the Honorable Supreme Court of India, which is the last resort, to get judgments which will touch the lives of several millions of people of our country and bring them that smile and that happiness that they've got the value for money. As you very rightly explained, who is the consumer? Consumer is the person who is actually paying for it. And everybody else in the supply chain, starting from the manufacturer to the dealer, to everybody who is involved, they all get something out of that money which the poor consumer is paying at the end of the day, from his pocket or from the taxpayers' money, which may be partly subsidized by the government. So at the end of the day, we as citizens land up paying the money for the product or the services for which we buy, and we expect a particular standard. You see, in our country, we find most of the products in the marketplace lack the standard. And this is where we have been trying to bring in laws where we are making standards mandatory, like packaged drinking water. It has to follow the standard of the Food Safety Act, Bureau of Indian Standards. So friends, you see, I wanted to sort of touch these highlights of the program of my presentation, basically to underline the need of an aware consumer, because I always believe in a slogan that an aware consumer is a protected consumer. And that is how we started that campaign, Jago Grahak Jago, wake up consumer. Because if you don't demand for quality, you will never get quality. If you don't demand for standard, you will never get standard. And the whole law on the Consumer Protection Act is pinned on this, that demand quality, demand the value for money, and demand that it will be by a very simple, easy, and friendly mechanism. And that is why in the Consumer Protection Act 2019, we have also recommended, and it is come into force, that there will be a Central Consumer Protection Authority. There will be a regulator. And that regulator will ensure that whatever the voiceless consumers are not able to speak, they will be able to do it in terms of policies, in terms of bringing in changes in the rules, in the existing laws of our country, and ensure that there is high degree of safety, privacy, transparency, accountability in the process of delivery. So I hope I'm not crossing my time limit. What is my time limit? For how long can I speak? Because if you want, I can keep on speaking, but the point is I want to be more sympathetic with my listeners, because I want them to ask me questions. I will be very happy to answer questions if they have any. And I would like to only conclude by saying that please, you all are mostly, I presume, are going to be tomorrow's legal practitioner. I can see that the faculty members who are teaching in academic institutions regarding law, my appeal to all of you is become innovative, come out with some good proposals in the interest of the citizens, so that good industry, which are practicing good ethical practices, like good manufacturing practice, good distribution practice, they're trying to be transparent, they want to be accountable to the consumer, they want to be bringing fair competition at the marketplace. We should encourage such industry to flourish. We want such traders, such business communities to flourish, because we want to curb the fly-by-night and unethical practitioners. We want to curb. We don't want to send anybody to jail, but we want to bring deterrent action against people who try to cheat the consumer. And it should be so deterrent that they will dare not cheat a consumer in future. And this is what we want. But it's a very long journey. As you know, I've been fighting for the last 35 years. We are still at the tip of the iceberg. So my issue is that we should keep fighting. We should keep talking about our rights, but in a responsible manner. We cannot take law in our own hand. We have to work within the parameters and the boundaries of law. We have to make sure that whatever we do, it is deemed to be very fair. It is deemed to be very justifiable. And that is what we want all the students who are going to be legal practitioners to understand. We do know you might be allured with a lot of money to do a lot of legal interventions which may not be in the interest of the consumer. But at the end of the day, I look at judiciary as a very key pivotal role. Even our constitution says that a very independent judiciary, an independent judiciary can only be independent if you're unbiased, if you're fair, if you can understand the plight of the citizens and the need of the country. So the judiciary has to be very, very neutral. It has to give orders and judgments which are going to help the country and the citizens. So my contention is that there is a very important role you all play in the community. And I definitely want to, take this opportunity to congratulate all of you. Because without the existence of a good legal framework in the country, democracy doesn't work. And democracy will work when you look at the consumer and the citizen, who are the beneficiaries, into their benefits. And if they are happy, the country is happy. And if the country is happy, we have a Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is what we want. You see, I like to quote him because I am very fond of him, let me tell you. And I find that in the leadership of our Prime Minister, there is a huge element of national feeling. Like what he says. I'm not saying that we don't need choice. I'm not also saying that we should only buy Indian products. But there should be very good opportunity of choice, competitiveness. And there should be an element where I am a educated consumer to take a credible choice, a credible decision based on credible information, which is very, very important. So I am very happy that you invited me. I'm very happy that you all allowed me to speak. And I hope I've been able to give my message in terms of the Consumer Protection Act 2019, which is yet to come into force because the rules are being framed. But I can only promise my listeners, whoever have participating here, that we all have to come together to create a vibrant India with a vibrant set of consumers and citizens who are conscious about their responsibilities and rights. So with this, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity once more.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such an informative session. And I completely agree with your word that there is a need to have an aware consumer. So once we have a proper consumer literacy around, then of course the issues of consumer protection and consumer safety will definitely go down. So, we do have some video questions. Let me say those video questions are from aware and informed consumers, and we would like both our panelists to answer those questions. Let me show you one question to you.
It's a known fact that e-commerce plays a vital part in our day-to-day life. E-commerce plays a vital part in our higher services by relying upon the good reviews given by the certified user and given by the certified user. And I have come across certain employment sector.
I guess the question here was that there are so many reviewers who are actually reviewing the products after taking certain amount of money, and that is how the advertisement of the product is done. So is there any provision regarding to it? Can we address certain issue? Will it come under misleading advertisement? Mr. Bejon, do you have any take on it, sir?
Yes. It is 100% within the ambit of the Consumer Protection Act 2019. It comes under misleading advertisement and it is deemed to be an unfair trade practice. Now, under that, what we have also brought in, which your participant asked that question. You see, as I mentioned in my presentation also, now under the new act, even the endorsement done, if somebody is writing a review and we find that the review is fictitious, deceptive, misleading, and mischievous, we can actually make that reviewer also liable for compensation. And the court can give a damage caused to the consumer from that person who is reviewing it in a falsely manner. And very rightly put by the person who was asking the question that there are a number of educational institutions now in our country which promote, slogans like 100% employment. They will say 100%, employment. And then what they would do is they will take them by paying a pittance in terms of internship, put them in their college itself, and then make them work there for, like bonded labor, and keep them for about a year and then tell them you go and vanish. And now you look after yourself. So in order to circumvent the law, they will show as if they're giving 100% in employment to their students. Whereas they're not giving 100% employment. They're actually exploiting labor, which is wrong, which is highly gross of kind of cheating. So misleading advertisement is very well covered in the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, and the endorsers or reviewers are also liable under that, and they can be made to pay as high as 50 lakhs of rupees as compensation or 5 years of jail. Now, I am not interested in sending them to jail, but I am definitely interested in getting that 50 lakhs.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer, sir.
Anish, sir, do you want to add something to what Mr. Bejon said?
Thank you. Good evening to all. So, what I completely agree with what Bijoy sir said. And one more thing I want to add is, when we are talking about this misleading advertisement, consumers has also a responsibility. We cannot completely criticize the reviewers, because when we are purchasing something through online, we will see by 500 rupees Sony power bank of 2000 mAh. Now, when we see that, we will look whether there is any some review or anything, and somebody might have reviewed also. Immediately we will purchase. Then when we will get the product, it is not Sony, it's only some fraud thing. Now, who is responsible? Is it the fault of the reviewer or the website owner or consumer? That point also we have to think, because every time we should not blame the sellers, we should not blame the platform or reviewers. We too have a responsibility, especially in the context of e-commerce. But other area I can have different opinion. But when it comes to e-commerce, consumers should also show responsibility in buying products and choosing product. Then only this issue can be sorted out. Simply by having a law, that will not help them. Because the problem with I have slight difference with Bejon sir is, we have a provision which says 50 lakhs compensation and 5 lakhs 5-year imprisonment. But the problem is, the compensation is based on the loss you suffered. Now, interesting thing is, if you are purchasing by paying 20 rupees or 300 rupees or 1000 rupees, how much compensation you will get? Maximum of 1000 rupees, maximum of 500 rupees. Now, the problem is, most of the people are not willing to approach the consumer forum, because for 500 rupee or 200 rupee, they will think it's a time wasting process. It will take a lot of time. Though Consumer Act says we have to have a decision within a particular time period, it never happens. It takes minimum 2 to 3 years or more than 3 years. So in that context, for 200 rupees loss or 500 rupees loss, people won't go. So ultimately, we have to be responsible. Then only we will get protection against this type of misleading advertisement. I think consumer awareness and consumers' responsibility, that is very important in this regard.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I completely agree with you. And I think all of us have to be really responsible and careful when we purchase things, especially online. So let's look at our second video question now.
Hi, my name is Zirzas. My question is, certain state governments have banned the sale of packed spices with
Here, I guess, is basically of adulteration of food. So, what is your take, Mr. Anish?
See, when it comes to this particular issue, there are so many things, not only this particular spices, so many things we can find like adulterated thing. Earlier, we have Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, but now by the introduction of FSSA Act, that was repealed. So all the provisions relating to adulteration now kept under Prevention of Food Adulteration Act. Now the same thing can be made applicable in our Consumer Protection Act also, under the heading defect of product. So if you are getting something adulterated, you can have a remedy under the heading defect of product. But the problem is this packaging and everything. How you are going to prove it? Again, I said at the beginning, you are purchasing 100 gram of cardamom or pepper, and if you are getting two or three extraneous substance, now how you are going to establish it? It is from that particular person, because it's loose. If it is packaged one, you will be able to prove it. So in effect, though you have a remedy and you have a forum, in effect, getting remedy is very difficult for an individual consumer is concerned. If it is a packaged one, well, you have an option because it's packaged one. But if it is not packaged or an unpackaged product, how you are going to establish it? Something it's very difficult thing. But we have a legal framework both under Consumer Protection Act as well as under the FSSAI Act. You can have a remedy.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Bejon, sir, you want to add something to it, especially regarding if there are any measures taken to curb such practices?
Yeah, you see, what I wanted to add was that in order to make the consumer empowered and smart and intelligent, the responsibility lies with the state. You cannot expect a consumer to go for a refund for 200 rupees to spend 20,000 rupees to get that refund.
Right.
So you have to find a mechanism where the state has to be made responsible, and the state is legally responsible to deliver that. Like, for example, in the case of the Food Adulteration Act, which then got converted into the Food Safety Act, and I was one of the members of the Food Safety Authority. So what was my role in that Food Safety Authority? To increase surveillance of the government, because under that act there has to be state authorities, food authorities, who are supposed to go and do market surveillance. But it was not happening, and it is still not happening. That the inspectors in the food authority should go to the marketplace, pick up samples, send them for testing, make the test results public, send them for testing in a particular protocol where it is hidden who are the manufacturers or who are the traders, so that when the results come, it is unbiased, it is not influenced. So there is all kinds of mechanisms in place in terms of protecting the consumer. But the problem and the challenge is, as I said, till the consumer does not demand, we will not get. Till the consumer doesn't look at it very carefully in terms of surveillance, they should ask the state government, where is it on the website, the reports of the samples which you have collected last month? We want to see it. We are able to get those reports only because through RTI, through the Right to Information Act, we are constantly giving questions to the government to give us these kind of data. And because when we get that data, that works as a tool for us to go before the judiciary when the state governments do not listen to us. So the point what I am making is, you cannot blame the poor consumers. Responsible consumer does not mean you sell your house and go for a legal redressal. The responsible consumer is one who is able to get the right solution out of the existing mechanism which is functioning out of the taxpayers' money. The taxpayers are already paying for the salaries of those people who are supposed to look after the welfare of the consumer. So why are they not working in the benefit of the consumer? So if there is a food adulteration, there is a violation in terms of the packaging commodities rules, there is a violation in terms of weights and measures, there's a violation in terms of sale of goods, there's a violation in terms of adulteration, then you don't expect the consumer to go and file a complaint to claim compensation. It has to be the state, and the state has to go and do that on behalf of the consumers, because they're being paid to do that out of our money. So this has been our simple kind of a redressal mechanism which we are talking about. And that is why, in e-commerce or in any kind of a platform, we are talking about a tracing and tracking mechanism. We must know where the product was manufactured. We must know who manufactured it. We must know under which condition it got manufactured. Now, you can't expect that the consumer should find out all this before purchasing. If somebody is giving a wrong endorsement, you can't chase that person who is given a wrong endorsement. It is the work of the government to figure out that people who are writing these reviews, who are genuine, who are not genuine, who have been planted by paying money, that you write in favor of my product, and who are genuine. So my contention is that it is the responsibility of the state to educate the consumers, to assert their rights, and be enshrined in terms of ensuring that the laws are prevailing in our country in their interest, and not burden them by more and more taxation and adding cess, adding this tax, that tax on the consumer, but at the end of the day, we don't get the relief. We can't continue with that. And that is what my short point has been, that responsible consumer means a consumer who buys in a smart manner out of credible information, and if he is being cheated, he goes to the appropriate authorities to complain it and seek redressal for that complaint. And still, if he doesn't get, then the state should help them to get the compensation, and not they chasing from pillar to post and engaging lawyers to get that relief.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now I request Dr. Anish Pillai, sir, you can begin your session now.
So many things we have already discussed. Now I will start my point with who is a consumer. Now, interestingly, we are all consumers right from our birth. Some of them, even prior to their birth, they were consumers. And we will continue and we will live as a consumer. And even after death, we are taking services from different people. So we are consumers always. But the problem is, when we are saying consumer, earlier we have kavai tempter, let the buyer beware. This was initial days in common law period. We have the legal system was based on the principle of kavai tempter. So whenever buyer wants to buy something, he has to know whether that particular product is suitable for his purpose, whether it is proper, then only he can purchase. After purchasing that, he cannot complain against them. And at that time, that system was working well. But subsequently, when the technological revolution happened or industrialization happened, products and services become more complex. Now, as a result, the consumers are not able to understand the products which are there in the market. Even I am using a mobile phone. Now, I don't know. They are saying it is 64 megapixel. Now, the interesting question is, what is megapixel? I don't know. Whether this product is of 64 megapixel, how I will ensure? I don't know. So the problem is, kavai tempter principle is outdated. As a result, we need support from the government, because there is government machinery. They can ensure it. These sellers are selling something what they are claiming that they are selling. Whatever claim they are making, their product satisfying that claim. It can be ensured only by the state. And that has necessitated enacting several legislations. So when the product become very complex, though we know what we need to purchase, we can understand the products. Certain products, due to the complex nature of that, we are unable to understand. So to avoid cheating in that particular aspect, government has come forward with several legislations. So we have number of legislations even prior to our independence. Even during our Vedic period itself, we have provisions similar to present day consumer law protections. So even during Britishers period also, we have legislations like Indian Penal Code. We have prevention of adulteration or adulteration offences were there. Even weights and measures offences were there in Indian Penal Code. Then we have Agricultural Grading and Marketing Produce Act 1937, wherein they used to give Akmark. So we have provisions even prior to independence, but it was a very limited provision. After independence, our country was in a different mode. We were following some Nehruvian model of mixed economy. So the government was controlling everything. The so-called license Raj was prevailing at that time. So we were not that much favored about expanding our market. And we were not allowing any foreign direct investment. We were not allowing any foreign players. So our market was not that developed. But somewhere around 1980s, we were also started imbibing the influence of liberalization and globalization. That resulted opening up of our market. And as a result, number of sellers or number of producers and market players came to Indian market. And that has resulted, that has generated wide variety of products in our country. Then, in the meantime, international level, there was a development in 1985. United Nations has adopted a guideline model guidelines for adopting consumer protection laws. So based on this 1985 model, and then existing government decided to have a law. So we have enacted 1986 Consumer Protection Act. Though we have enacted 1986 Consumer Protection Act, it has done nothing. Up till 1991, that act was in a dormant stage. Only in 1991, due to a case, the state governments and other they have established this district forums. So from 1991 onwards, our Consumer Protection Act started working well, and it continued for a long time. And when it comes to 2017, we have thought about having a new legal framework, and in 2018 we have introduced a bill, and 2019 it became a law. So this is the short history of our consumer protection law. Now, from what this consumer protection law is protecting. Now, I started by the point, we are all consumers right from our birth to death. Now, if that be the definition, you cannot give protection to a person. So what Consumer Protection Act 1986 did, it has created a legal framework to protect individual consumers. So only an individual consumer can claim protection under Consumer Protection Act. So because of that, Consumer Protection Act has defined who is a consumer and who cannot be a consumer. Now, as per that definition under section 2(1)(d), we can see a consumer is a person who buys any goods or hires any services. That is a simple definition. Any person who buys any goods or hires any services, we can call him as a consumer. But at the same time, if he is hiring that service or buying that product for reselling or for a commercial purposes, or if he is getting it free of cost, or if it is under a contract of personal service, that person cannot be treated as a consumer. So as of now, if a person want to claim a remedy under Consumer Protection Act, he should come under the definition of consumer provided under section 2(1)(d). That is the first thing. Now, against what this Consumer Protection Act gives protection? Against four major things Consumer Protection Act guarantees protection. First of all, it gives protection against defect in product. When you are purchasing something, if you are finding a defect in the product, then you have a remedy under Consumer Protection Act. Now, what is defect? There is a definition given under the Act. What is defect? Now, suppose when you are purchasing a matchbox, if the packet is written, it contains 50 sticks. Now, suppose when you are opening that matchbox, it contains only 49 sticks. You can say that product is defective. You have a remedy under Consumer Protection Act. And there is a real case also in that regard. But for shortage of matchstick in the matchbox, a person has approached the consumer forum and he got remedy also. So that is what the defect. So it is not the case you must have a very larger defect. Yes, minor defect. Say for example, when you are purchasing Reebok shoe, if the Reebok emblem is not printed clearly, you can say your product is defective. So that much minute aspect is also taken under consideration by the definition of defect. Now, second category of protection a consumer will get when he is hiring a service. Now, number of services we are hiring, like medical services, educational services, commercial services, banking, housing, transport, etc., etc., etc. Now, when you are availing any service, if you find any deficiency in that, you can have a remedy under Consumer Protection Act. Again, the term deficiency is very well defined under the Act, and number of judicial interpretation has expanded the scope of the concept of deficiency. Now, interestingly, assume a situation when you are taking a Uber service, and if the Uber service personnel is taking through a road which is having low gutter, then you can say that service is deficient service, or there is a deficiency in this service, because every minute aspect of your service will also be taken under the consideration by the Act. So that is the second limb of the protection, deficiency in service. Now the third limb of protection is restrictive trade practices and unfair trade practices. Now there are certain things like false and misleading advertisements, etc., are not covered under defect and deficiency. Such type of things will be covered under restrictive trade practices and unfair trade practices. We used to call it as RTP and UTP. There is a very big definition under the Act. You can read it. Now, against any unfair trade practice or restrictive trade practices, you can have a remedy under the Act. Now, the last limb is excessive pricing. Whenever there is an excessive pricing, that also you can question under the Consumer Protection Act. So these are the four areas where Consumer Protection Act directly provides protection to a consumer. Now, one thing you have to remember, this is not only the legal framework for the protection of consumers. For protecting consumers, there are a number of other laws. There are laws under criminal law, like IPC is there. Then we have Drugs and Cosmetics Act is there. Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act is there. So there is a bunch of criminal law is there. Again, you have number of other general laws are there, like FSSAI Act that protect you against adulteration and food safety aspect. Then you have a number of legislations which talks about quality marks and quality standards, like a Bureau of Indian Standards Act, which provides BIS mark. Then Legal Metrology Act, which talks about weights and measures. So likewise, you have other set of legislations which talks about ensuring quality, like ISI mark, ACK mark, then ECO mark, number of quality standards, even BI, Bismarck, 916 mark, etc., etc., etc. Then, along with all these, Consumer Protection Act is also there. Now, interestingly, Consumer Protection Act is not in derogation with any other law. It is in conformity with. So, when a consumer finds a problem, he can have remedy under all these legal framework. He can not only he need to select one, he can choose all the things and he can get remedy against that. Then, from where you will get remedy under consumer protection? That is another interesting question. Now, Consumer Protection Act, the existing Consumer Protection Act 1986 provides mechanism of consumer forums. You have district level, state level and national level. So any person, if it is a claim below 20 lakhs, you have to approach district forum. If your claim goes more than 20 lakhs and below 1 crore, you have to go to state commission. And if it is more than 1 crore, you have to approach national commission. Now, along with this mechanism, you have other voluntary mechanisms also for the protection of consumers. But the sad part is most of the consumers are unaware of that particular aspect. Like there is something known as Consumer Helpline Number, National Consumer Helpline Number, NCH. I don't know how many of us are heard about this. Even I was also heard this very recently. But this is a very well functioning mechanism. Without spending any money, without spending much time, an immediate relief you will get using this particular mechanism. National Consumer Helpline. There is a toll-free number for that, 144. I will share you that slide with you. You can also have a look. I think you can see now. This is the number. 14404 or 180011400. Now, interesting thing is they have mechanism, they have office. This is actually working under Ministry of Consumer Affairs, but now it is placed under the Indian Institute of Public Administration, IIPA in Delhi, and they have regional centers. And some of the state government have also implemented this. And if you make a call to this particular number, and you can tell about your problem. Now, only thing is the product you have purchased is a branded one, because this National Consumer Helpline having connection with number of manufacturers and sellers in the country. And if your problem is connected with any of such sellers or manufacturer, they will immediately request that particular manufacturer to remedy you. And this, if they are in the list of this particular National Consumer Helpline, definitely you will get a remedy and your matter will be settled within 3 days. But the most important thing is very rarely people are using this particular mechanism. They are all worried about national district forum, state commission and national commission, and there you have to fight for 3 year and 4 year. But use this particular mechanism. Now they have provided an app also. You can simply download from the Google Play Store. It is available. And likewise, there are mechanisms other than this particular Consumer Protection Act. There are mechanisms like some of the manufacturers provides a mechanism like a voluntary consumer dispute resolution. They have a consumer dispute resolution center. Sometimes they will call it as ADR center or dispute settlement or dispute grievance cell. Some different name they will call it as. But the thing is, first level, a consumer can approach this particular consumer grievance cell of the concerned company, and if it is not working well, then they can approach the consumer helpline, and as a last resort, consumer can approach consumer forum. This should be the strategy, but unfortunately, most of the consumers never take any measure. They are very passive in nature. Even if they will suffer a damage, they won't do anything. The reason is the loss is very minute. If we are suffering a huge amount, then we may approach a particular forum. If we are suffering 2 rupee or 3 rupee or 5 rupee, we won't complain against that. That is the problem. Now, what can be done against that? As Bejon sir rightly pointed out, every consumer is not expected to take action against this 1 rupee or 2 rupee. It can be done only by the state. Now, for that, what is required? My suggestion in this regard is we have to have a mechanism of criminal law. We have to criminalize our Consumer Protection Act. Now it is a branch of civil law. It has to be a criminal law. Now, if it is a criminal law, if it is a 1 rupee issue, police can register a case. They can register an FIR and they can go for the prosecution. Now, if it is 1 rupee, if I am suffering 1 rupee loss or 2 rupee loss, I never complain. I will not go to that shop. That's it. Now, if I am not going to that shop, he is not suffering anything. He will continue with his activity. So the best option is there should be a criminal mechanism. If I am suffering 1 rupee or 2 rupee or 3 rupee, whatever be the minute thing, if there is violation, the police can register a case, they can go for prosecution. And there is no question of mens rea or anything, because our Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, they have made it as a statutory offense. So there won't be any question of pleading mens rea and how to prove mens rea for selling something which is adulterated or something. That issue won't come. So definitely I would say we have to criminalize our consumer protection, and that can be one of the important strategy for ensuring consumers are not cheated by organized sellers. Now I will tell you one example how this organized cheating is taking huge amount. There was an instance, I'm not naming that particular product. Let's take a case of Nescafe pouch. Assume a situation, Nescafe pouch. It's only an example, a fictitious example. Nescafe pouch is selling 10 gram for rupee 2 rupees. You will get coffee powder pouch 10 gram, that is the weight, and its cost is 2 rupees. Now assume a situation you are getting only 8 gram in that particular pouch. Whether we will be able to know? We won't be able to know. Now somehow we come to know that okay, it's less than, it is 2 gram less in that. It's only 8 gram. Whether you will file a case, and if you file a case, how much compensation you will get, because you have paid only 2 rupees. Now, assume a situation, the Nescafe company is selling the same like this manner for a period of 1 year. How much money they can get from this? I will tell you it will be more than 50 lakhs. Because every day or every month, they may be selling pouch of around 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs pouch. Now, 5 lakhs pouch into 2 gram. How much kilo it will come? And you just convert that kilo with money. How much money they can get? Now, this is actually an encouragement for the seller. If a consumer files a case, in this particular regard, how much money, how much compensation the company has to pay? 2 rupees. Maximum 2 rupees plus interest plus the cost of litigation. Hardly 5,000 rupees. That's for one consumer. Now, how much money the Nescafe might have got from this? 50 lakhs. They may be very happy to pay 5 lakhs rupees for this consumer. And they may avoid the litigation. Got it? So, to avoid this type of malpractice, there is only one solution. According to me, we have to criminalize it. Now, when I'm saying criminalizing it, if a case is registered against a well-known company, that itself is sufficient. It will act as a deterrent. They will not continue. And 1 day imprisonment to the CEO or the concerned person, that itself have a very big impact, rather than asking them to pay 5 lakhs. And they are happy to pay 10 lakhs. Because they are getting 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs. So that is what my suggestion, and I'm happy to take any question, and I'm happy to elaborate any point in subsequent discussion. I think I have not crossed my time.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for this brief journey throughout this consumer law. Thank you so much. And I would definitely add on here that about National Consumer Helpline, even I'm hearing for the first time from you, because even I was aware about the forums only. Okay. So that's thank you so much for that added information. So, sir, as you have, both of you have actually rightly pointed out that, there are a lot of stuff going on around regarding how the consumers are being exploited because of certain products. Now, there are two opinions which I got. There were, as Anish sir said, that in e-commerce there are certain things, there are certain times we have to make our informed choices. While there was also other opinion where Mr. Bejon said that every time you can't bring this responsibility on the consumer. State has to play its own role. So regarding this, I would also show you again one more video of one very famous e-commerce site that we all know, unfortunately, that's Amazon, that what kind of situation is actually going on. So we really have to take a call after seeing that video and decide, and we can further go on with the discussion and the questions after that.
Since Amazon bought Whole Foods for $13.7 billion in 2017, it's become an ever more popular place to buy food items. With Amazon Fresh, Prime members get groceries delivered for free in 2 hours from local Whole Foods stores in select cities. But outside Amazon Fresh, there's an entire section of food sold through Amazon's regular e-commerce platform. It's called Grocery and Gourmet, and it launched in 2006 with 14,000 dry grocery products available. Today, it has hundreds of thousands of items sold by millions of third-party sellers. Chances are you can find your favorite variety or obscure flavor on Amazon. And if you're a Prime member, many of them will have free one-day shipping. But there's a downside to the convenience created by Amazon's huge marketplace. Some of these food items sold through third-party sellers are arriving expired, stale, or tampered with.
That focus on selection, relentlessly offering more stuff, allows those expired or unsafe foods to fall through the cracks.
I do buy my creamer there because I can't get it in the store where I live now. It was chunky and curdled, and that's when I noticed the expiration date was, I want to say 2 or 3 months before. It was shocking.
They melt as actually like over a year old brownies. Like, I've never experienced anything like that. Like, it tastes disgusting. It tastes like, I don't know, cardboard.
A CNBC analysis found expired hot sauce, beef jerky, granola bars, Doritos. Amazon says it has millions of sellers worldwide, including at least 800,000 in the US. Third-party sellers make up 58% of merchandise sold on Amazon.
Amazon as a company, they have a 1 trillion market cap now. A big part of their growth has been opening up the third-party marketplace. That's the only way you can get that volume and that huge growth as a company. The thing is, that growth needs to be tempered for the reasons of safety for the consumer.
I know of sellers who've sold chips, crackers that are expired, ramen packets that are expired, and also flavored waters.
Although many of these grocery items are sold by third parties, Amazon gets a cut of each sale and provides the selling platform, which makes culpability a hot topic.
It's not just
So here is my next question to Dr. Anish, that, as you right now were pointing out about consumer awareness, and we saw that, at certain point there are certain malpractices which are happening. But here we really can't say it's a malpractice, because Amazon being a huge site, there are a lot of concept of third-party seller. So there are so many third-party sellers who are coming to that site and selling the products, and Amazon is not ready to take their responsibilities. But while this whole video saw that there are a lot of issues happening because of that. So how can we handle those issues? Because these are the expired products. So how can we tackle these issues?
See, interesting thing. Selling an expired product is also a defect under Consumer Protection Act. No doubt in that. But the day when you are getting it, whether it is expired, that is the point. Now, as of now, we don't have a case or anything like that, but that will be an issue. Suppose today I got a product and tomorrow is the expiry. But the content which I cannot use by one day, I cannot finish it by one day. Can it be treated as a defective thing? If it can be considered as a defective product, definitely I have a remedy under Consumer Protection Act. No doubt in that. Now, with respect to Amazon, this is possible. Now, what is actually happening in India, especially, Amazon is not the culprit. The culprit is some website which we are unaware of. Mostly, it is shared through Facebook. Some of our friends will like, and we will get it as a message, or we will get it as a picture. Now, what will happen? They will show 20% off or 30% off, and immediately we will think it is original price is 10,000. But here this fellow is selling by 2,000. And we will check, and they were saying 1 year warranty. Warranty card will be there. Everything is same. And the look-wise product, everything is same. So we will immediately purchase. Now we will get a product. Either it may be a repaired one, or it may be tampered one, or it may be some other product. Now that particular website, If you are again replying against them, if you are trying to call their customer care for a remedy, you never get connected with your call. Always that number will say busy, 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 because there is no such seller. They will make sale for some time, then they will vanish. In such a situation, though we have all these legislations and everything, you don't have any remedy. You're absolutely helpless. There I am saying you have to be responsible. When you are making online purchase, always try to purchase through a website which is well known or having some reputation. Never opt from a website which is not known to us. Simply by seeing some offer, or sometimes you will see buy one get one, like MI power bank. If you buy one, you will get two. That too by 750 rupees. Wherein the one product will cost more than 10,000 or 2,000, like that. But that is an attracting thing, and though we are learned people, we will think it's only 500 rupees. Let it be. We can take a chance. We will immediately purchase. And most of the people never disclose this to others. They will think, okay, I lost. If I will say, they will make fun of me. So they never disclose, and they will lose that money, and that will be an encouragement for this website. They will close this website and they will come up with another new one. So in that situation, the consumers has to be very careful in choosing website. Another important point, that is what I think most of the listeners have some idea about, that refurbished products. Are we aware of that? Refurbished product. Now, refurbished means it is second hand. It is repaired one, or it had some problem and they have cured it. Now, lot many websites are there. They are selling original product with original logo, everything, but it is refurbished. Now, where they are writing that refurbished, maybe they will give a small star in the below. They will write refurbished. Now, I can tell you, most of the online consumers or purchasers, they were not knowing the meaning of refurbished. Without knowing that, they will purchase that product simply by seeing the discount. Now, after purchasing, they will find a fault in that. What remedy they will get? So, to an extent, a consumer, by being vigilant and responsible, can avoid this threat. And even after that, if something happens to you, then you have legal mechanism. That is what I want to say.
Okay, so actually, sir, you have also answered one more question, which was asked by one of our participants. So she actually asked regarding the fake site, the phishing. So, so that is because she was actually asking that what will be the remedy there. So, as I guess our participant has got the question that if you go to the fake site and then you purchase, unfortunately, there is no such very proper remedy. So this was about the thing. Now moving on further, I would actually add on one thing, that there are a lot of issues regarding the fake items also. So if you see in e-commerce websites and all, there are a lot of fake items are also being sold. So Mr. Bejon, do you have any take on it? So how can these fake items, and eventually the same question also, that third party sellers, how can they be controlled here?
Yeah, very good. It's an excellent question, and in fact, I've been working on this for a long time. So I'll share with you our experience. You know, I started working on spurious medicines and substandard medicines sold in the supply chain, and there we have been working for now more than 10 years in terms of how to authenticate or empower a consumer to know that this is original and this is not original. So the only way you can do that is to frame rules and laws which are made mandatory in terms of tracing and tracking. Like even for websites, we are trying to frame the rules for e-commerce trading in our country, and also direct selling. So all these trading transactions which are now being done on electronic platforms, we should be able to distinguish and differentiate between a genuine site and an illegal site, and that can only happen when the government will frame a law and make it mandatory that you can't create a platform and sell in India which is not registered with us, which should be registered and that registration number should always be displayed. But there also you will find people will try to do fraudulent activities by counterfeiting the registration certificates and registration process. So there again, as I said earlier, the government has to be very vigilant, alert, surveillance. So surveillance mechanism is the key factor in terms of empowering the consumers, in terms of not becoming victims of fraud. So we become victims of fraud because of ignorance. We do not understand. We get allured by discounts. We get allured by certain misleading advertisements. But it is the government's responsibility to do checks in terms of these kind of allurements, these kind of deep discounting, this kind of predatory pricing. You see, these are all unfair trade practice. And we have to make sure that all this data is made public. That is why the consumers want that the information should be made public. As a consumer, I would like to know that which is the store which is in my neighborhood, which is not a registered store. I would like to know, which website is not registered. I would like to know which website we should be careful about. So there should be constant alert system in place. There should be alerts given to the consumers that be careful. These people are frauds. Don't do dealings with them. This can cheat you. But unfortunately, that is what is not happening in our country. You see, we are not having robust mechanisms of surveillance. We are not having robust alert systems in our country. Consumers are becoming victims because the poor people are left to their lurch. It is their decision. And once they get cheated, then they are unable to identify. So in terms of counterfeit products or substandard products, we have to make sure that even the sellers, even the good manufacturers, they build in mechanism of alertness amongst their consumers. If supposing I'm a particular brand and I'm very popular in the market, I bound to take that my brand will be counterfeited. People will copy my brand. People will try to copy me and try to sell with my name. So the industry also has to be equally responsible. They must have their own intelligence system. Apart from the police, apart from the enforcement departments, economic offense departments, in terms of cyber security team. You see, all these people are working in our country, but they are not making their work public. They're not telling us that what are the outcomes coming out of their daily activities. What they have done today, we don't come to know. We only come to know when we become a victim. And then when we complain, we come to know that millions of people have become victims like me. By that time, the culprit has vanished from the vicinity. And then it becomes a huge, border, inter-country kind of Interpol has to come in. And today, Interpol is working on these counterfeit products. There is a huge element of global, activism which is going on in terms of how to exchange data, how to ensure that there is no cross-border, smuggling going on, to ensure that people get genuine products and they are not getting imitated products. So there are a number of issues which needs to be addressed in our laws, which are yet to be addressed. And that is why I'm again telling all of you who are participating in this webinar to make sure that you start recommending to the government what kind of language we should frame by looking at the global best practices in terms of good laws coming into our country, which should not bring the Inspector Raj, but it should bring back a lot of happiness in terms of making processes simple, easy, friendly. This is the language I'm looking for legal experts like you all to tell us so that we can insert those language in the law. So now when we are framing the rules of the Consumer Protection Act 2019, you all can play a very important role in bringing that language in the rules. And you must help us in getting that language in the rules in the right manner so that people are not able to challenge it. The culprits are not able to challenge the loopholes in the existing laws or the rules. So this is where the role of a legal experts like you people come in. So we look forward to a partnership. We look forward to that partnership.
Thank you, sir, and very rightly said, sir. Also, sir, as we'll be collecting the feedback forms, if we'll convey all their recommendations and suggestions to you, sir. Sir, apart from consumer safety and counterfeit products, I feel that mislabeling is also one of the prominent issue that we consumers face today. I recently read an article which stated that the health ministry has banned the over-the-counter sale of products, especially fairness creams that contains hydroquinone. So hydroquinone basically a chemical that helps in reducing, skin pigmentation. Even though products containing hydroquinone are banned since April 2019, as it causes certain skin diseases and issues, but still in the market we have various products which has hydroquinone, and such products, to name a few, it's Maxi-Lite and Care White, which are easily available on Amazon as well. And one more thing is that such products, the ingredients is not even mentioned that they're using hydroquinone. So this is something where we consumers are exposed to a huge risk. So what is your opinion about such practices, sir? And are there any measures taken to avoid such practices, especially regarding mislabeling? Because we consumers don't know. If it's not written, we are not aware what's there in the product.
You want me to answer?
Yes, sir. Then after that, Anish sir can also answer the question.
Okay. So let me tell you, we have been requesting the government for the last more than 5 years to bring out the list of what products can be sold over the counter and what products cannot be sold over the counter. Till date, you will be amazed to know that the government has yet to notify that list. We do not even have a proper definition of OTC in our country. So there is a great need in terms of ensuring that we bring this notification as early as possible. I remember being a part of that expert group which formulated in terms of how to go about having that list formalized. This was 2 years back. I remember going to Andhra Pradesh because their FDA commissioner was the chair of this expert committee. And till date, it has not got notified. And that is where we are, lacking that will. We have, because these are concerns which concerns the health and safety. You have very rightly said. These are concerns where ignorant, poor, innocent consumers are getting cheated, and then they land up in hospitals trying to rectify the damage caused on their health due to overuse of such products or due to irrational use of such products, because they self-prescribe. They buy the product without any prescription. And there are a number of products which are to be sold only through doctor's prescription, you can get without any prescription. So our whole pharmacy practices have gone, off the law is very good. The law is there. Under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, we have an excellent law. But the point is, are the provisions of the law being effectively and efficiently implemented at the state level who are responsible for its enforcement? They are not. And then some of the laws are so outdated that the punishment is 500 rupees fine. They smile at you, they pay that 500 rupees and get away, doing the same mischief which they are continuing to do under the Magic Remedies Act. You see, the Magic Remedies Act is so outdated that the fine is so low because it was made out of the British Raj. Today, that 500 rupees has got no relevance, and people mislead under the under the Magic Remedies Act by giving all kinds of false claims. And they smile at you, they come, you pay 500 rupees, you get a receipt, and you go back smiling because you have made 5 lakhs of rupees. Like what my co-panelist has said, Harish, he mentioned that. He gave a good example of a pouch being underweight. Now, one small pouch which you don't realize as a consumer, and there is also a phenomena of, having a kind of a percentage of error, your permissible percentage of error. We have outdated laws on that. Why should there be percentage of error allowed? It should be 100%. Why should I take short weight? There should be strong penal action because I am not getting any discount out of that short weight. I am being charged MRP. So when I'm being charged MRP, I must get the full quantity. Why is it that you always find a short weight and you don't find an overweight? You never get something extra. Why is that? If the machine is giving faulty results, it can sometimes give you faulty results which can be more than what it is to be. So why it is not showing that? It is only because it is being manipulated. The weight is being manipulated. It is not due to the error of the machine. Machine will work in the manner you as a owner will want the machine to work. And if you want the machine to work only in your favor, not in the favor of the consumer, you will always end up having short weight. So coming back to counterfeit, it's the same thing. If the seller wants to sell a counterfeit, if the seller wants to undermine his own brand, he is free to do that, and he is doing that. And that is where we challenge the industry. That why are you not catching the culprits yourself? Why are you only dependent on the police? And they have full information, market intelligence, in terms of who is committing what criminal activities where. They know. But they don't want to speak about it because it will undermine their brand. Consumers will start losing faith on that brand. So they don't want to keep you informed. And neither the government is keeping you informed. So the poor consumer will continue to have be victims. So, but today the technology is a big enabler, let me tell you. There are technology which cannot be duplicated, which cannot be, counterfeited. And that technology should be embedded in the products. And it is very cost effective. It is not very expensive. It can be done. But the actual manufacturers, they get away saying that this product which has been caught, it is not my product, it is somebody else's product. So they get away from the law, from the clutches of the law. But if you have a tracking and tracing system, then actually the manufacturer who is practicing unethical practices will be exposed. They don't want that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Anish, sir, as we are, having short of time, so can you just add on anything if you want to in another 1 minute, sir?
Yeah, what Sir was saying is correct. We have Drugs and Cosmetics Act and the Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act. If somebody is selling a prohibited drug, a prohibited chemical, using it for any product, whatever it is, cosmetics or anything, we have a remedy against that. Definitely that is a wrong practice and consumer has a remedy. So one thing I want to make sure is, first point for consumer protection is we should be very well responsible. We should be aware and we should be responsible. That is the first part. And the second part comes from the government. As Bejon sir was rightly saying, surveillance. We need a surveillance system. When we are not active, that surveillance can do. They can go to the market, they can analyze each and every product and identify whether it is a counterfeited one, whether they have a false quality mark, whether they are selling underweight product or lesser weight, whatever it is. All that things can be identified through surveillance. So it has to go both hand in hand. One level, you have to be very careful. We have to be very vigilant. The other level, government also has to do their part. If both can do together, then we can ensure consumer protection. Then I don't think these laws will be then very well useful for that. Otherwise, laws are there. Some of them will use, some of them won't. And if the claim is very big, we will use, otherwise we won't use. That is the system. So that can be avoided when both consumer and government will do their part.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your views on this. So as we are almost to the end of this session, I kindly request all the participants to please fill the feedback forms. That will ensure your attendance, and also please for the next episode as well as the e-certificate. And also, as Bejon sir said, if you have any suggestions or recommendations that you want to add to the amendment rules, you can also provide that through the feedback form, and obviously will be conveyed to Bejon sir. So thank you so much, everyone. And we really had a wonderful session. It was really informative. And I'm sure that the participants must have got food for their thoughts. I would like to once again thank both our panelists, Mr. Bejon Misra and Dr. Anish Pillai, for sparing their time and helping us in our motive of spreading consumer literacy. We'll dive deep further in our second episode on misleading advertisements. That's on 23rd June. Thank you everyone for joining this session and hope to see you all at our next episode. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Professor.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.